Guys, we are back streaming again on GG Poker. We have some Russian cash and then a reg table going as well. Nice first hand here against the wide open. Just going to be 3-betting here and probably not stacking off, but oof. Tough flop. I mean, probably going to be betting range, honestly, in this spot. We can bet a little bit smaller since, well, he's kind of short. Not ideal, but with the backdoor flush draw, we are going to stack off. Pretty much dead to about everything now. So gonna be checking back the turn. We're still obviously like doing well against pair and gut shot type hands that will be able to check down on a blank. And we have one of the worst bluff catches, so blocking, you know, backdoor diamonds, unblocking spades, blocking all the pairs, not blocking a straight, so pretty unfortunate turn, but we will let it go. And if you guys hadn't noticed, we did finally get the green screen, and so no more tilting OBS like kind of random blurry lines, so hopefully that's good for you guys. And guys 3-betting quite wide. I mean, these are not great aces, but at these stack sizes, obviously going for the cold 4 here. If we get it in, it will be against aces, and we probably won't be in great shape, but it is what it is. And we run into the better aces. And on this board, we will have some leads on the left. Very nice run of hands on the right. I don't actually mind bet folding this, given that we have 3 diamonds. We do have backdoors and overcards though, so probably check call is actually a better option. And on the right, half pot call. Just gonna raise fold. Didn't expect to get 2 callers, and then we have to be very, very careful now. Against a 3rd pot size bet. And a call. Yeah, we're not doing great against a lot of things. So just gonna fold. River the nuts. Maybe not. Maybe we run into some weird combo. So a couple of strange hands. I think raising the flop there is good. It's a pretty difficult hand to call and play 3 or 4 way on a bunch of turns, but we likely have pretty good equity. I mean, looks like we're gonna have some interesting hands with this guy in the pool. Pot size lead. I think with a player behind, I think we're gonna just fold. Heads up, we would definitely continue there. And we get aces again on the right against a very tight open. And looks like a tight fold. This guy directly to my left, not going to be opening hands like that. And considering it on the left, but with short stack in the blind. Here with 3 tight players behind, definitely going to be opening this end. I mean, we can call it 3-bet, we don't love it, but... And not enough interaction without a spade or a pair blocker here to bet. Pretty good card for our range, and don't mind leading here. We'll have plenty of king queen in our range. Obviously we'd like to block a pair. But a lot of his connection on that board is going to be 3-betting pre-flop, so we take away some of his range. It's going to be able to fight back against a large bet. Solid 3-bet on the left. Against this small sizing, I'm actually going to call. And I think it's probably just a little too dynamic with 2 flush draws to attempt to bet here with basically no equity. And on this turn, I don't really think that we want to raise much here. We do have equity against an 8. And the question is, do we want to lead the river? On the left, very coordinated board. One of the bottom sets, I'm probably just going to check call. And Sam, what is up? Welcome to the chat, welcome to the stream. Appreciate the good luck as always. And he does go for the raise. And on the left, blocking the straight and having no diamonds, I think I'm going to check call. On the right, probably just going to fold. I mean, so many of his air combos connect to that board, and I mean, I would not advise you guys to attempt to get people to fold boats. I mean, this isn't a great spot, but we're obviously going to call. Get some heads up action on the left, which is nice. Hopefully he stays to play. And definitely gonna be check raising on the left. The check raise relatively small on a very stack board. And we do take it down. LPD. What is up, my friend? It's the only reason I stream, to be honest, is to get the updates of your roller coaster bankroll sessions. I'm glad that you've been winning some back. Standard bet here on the left with pair and pot blocker. Heads up. I mean, you don't want to bluff too many middle pairs because they do actually have more showdown value. But here, given that there are so many overcards, you know, we put ourselves in a good spot. Great turn for our range. Shouldn't get raised much here. I think we'll get bluff catched a decent amount by ace-x. So I am gonna bet large and put those bluff catches into more of an indifference point. We do get raised. I think it's a pretty easy fold. Because he basically only ever has ace-7. Don't think he's raising ace-deuce. I mean 7-deuce, sorry. Maybe he raises ace-deuce as a bluff, that would be nice. So this could actually work out pretty well if we can keep some heads of action here, which is always fun. Bottom 2. With a straight blocker, you could argue to check raise this because it's going to be tough to play a multitude of turns. I think we are just going to call here. Pretty much one of the better turns to continue on. And I don't think we want to raise. I mean, things that he continues bluffing here. I mean, we unblock a ton of the missed draws, so I kind of want to just go for the check call, but we did recently just check call with like basically the nuts. So I don't know that he's gonna bluff. He's just gonna check down a king, probably. I mean, you're complete ass, so best possible line. And now we got a 10 big blind stack in the mix, ruining our heads up game. And just gonna actually fold this. It's not gonna play well in the multi-way pot, even though realistically it's more like a heads up pot, given that this guy is pretty basically committed on every flop. What stakes are you playing, LPD? With your 5K bankroll challenge? Or not challenge, I mean, I guess that's where you're at. But what's the plan? You doing some shot taking? You moving up? I mean, we get the flat call. Maybe get the fold on the turn. Run into the jacks. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Takes the cash out. Or no, he's deciding on the cash out. Hit him! Oh, baby. Oh, it's so sick. So sick, so sick. Pretty good hand to check raise on the left. Gonna be a ton of runouts, but we still have nut blockers. And blocking a diamond, like, it's now pretty likely that we're against actually like kings, maybe. I think we probably want to bet. Then do we have to call it off? Probably not, no. Snapfold on the turn, always nice. So likely did have 2 power set. And just folding on the left here. For half a big blind. Gonna limp in. And flop something that can get us into trouble. Good. I mean, four-way here. I'm actually gonna start with a check. Because if we like get jammed on by King X of Hearts, it's just it's pretty gross. And we obviously have a ton of playability when we just make the nuts. At this point, I actually do want to lead with a pair blocker and hearts, just because we have a lot of playability on rivers. This guy snap jams. Okay. Okay. On the left, not blocking the straight. I'm just gonna check call here on the turn. And pretty good example of how crushed we would have been getting in on the flop, but nice turn. Nice turn. Obviously calling here on the right. And I guess we have an okay bluff catcher. And being a bit deeper here, we are gonna call. And hopefully not gonna get a pot size bet on the right, but we do have to call. Does give us the nice check. This guy checks it back. Guy definitely doesn't want to bluff against us, so we're gonna have to stop value bang pretty thin, probably. I think just checking back here is fine. We have good turns that we can bluff, not that one. That should pretty much be the end of this hand. Boris, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the good luck. Always appreciated. I mean, your bankroll for 1-2. I mean, it depends on a few factors, but you know, 100 buy-ins is always like a good start. Just folding on the left, pretty much one of the worst turns. 100 buy-ins is always a good start, but it really depends on, you know, like where you're playing, how much of an edge you have in the particular pool. You know, do you have other sources of funds? Is it your only money that you have as an income? There's going to be different things that are going to factor in. If you're playing in ridiculously soft pools, you can definitely be more aggressive with your bankroll management, as you know, the overall variance will be lower, or your overall chances of loss will be lower given the higher edge. We should have a leading range on this board. I don't think this hand makes that much sense blocking our run outs. Turn the nuts though. This though, however, does make a better lead. And without a heart, I don't necessarily think that I want to pot this turn. Blocking the backdoor diamonds and the backdoor clubs a bit. We're likely going to run into more 2-pair sets with hearts now that are not going to fold. So I think it is time to probably give up. And yeah, pretty much the worst card for us to bluff on the river. I'm gonna ISO on the left and open on the right. But yeah, I think 100 big blinds is always a good place to start. And, you know, just think about, you know, your kind of lifestyle. Whether it's like completely disposable cash and how much of an edge you have in your particular pools. So going to bet here on the left, I think ranges are just more capped than they should be in these multi-way spots. Not a great river card on the right, not blocking a pair, so I'm just gonna check back with a straight. Do take it down. No real leads in the sandwich here on the right, and yeah, just giving up against a pot size bet. You can argue that we have like blockers on certain runouts, but when you get that short, your blockers are kind of worthless, and you want to just play a little more straightforward. And do we want to squeeze? I don't think so. Never. I think it's probably close to a fold, to be honest. It's not a bad hand to lead. This is going to connect pretty well with our range. But we do have the button cold call range to contend with as well, which hits this board hard. Turn the third nuts, I guess. And opted for the lead, given that we unblock all the pairs. We unblock most of the straight, but still no action. And flop the nuts on the left. I think with a jack and a rainbow board, I think I'm just going to check here. It's going to be very tough to get value in this hand. But we do get a bet, which is always nice. Question is, do we want to raise? I don't think so. Okay. And it obviously is quite likely that he has an ace or a queen, given that we have a jack. I think given he checked back, more likely a queen if he has anything that can call, and we sort of saw that he's not really going to bluff too much when checked to, so... It is a queen. And given some of the checkbacks we've seen, I could see him definitely checking that hand back. And against small size, going to be calling on the right. Didn't actually check this guy's stats, but... Tempted to lead, given that check calling does not seem very appealing. And I do kind of want to bet here. I mean, we have some equity if we get called, not if we get raised, obviously. We can just fold our gut shot. ISOing, even though the kings are weak. Loose open that I make in Russian cash, probably shouldn't have with this guy behind. Don't mind a check back here. There's not that many draws that anyone can kind of call with. We can likely call a turn probe. Definitely on that card. And even though we block the straights, I think we can go for some value now. I mean, we will call it off against this guy if he does jam. It likely has a queen, but we have some outs. Not enough, though. And I think that we do want to bet here with our blockers. We can call a raise. And, you know, we obviously have some nutted equity. And just a ton of fold equity on the flop. But, obviously, any card above a 9. And our hand suddenly doesn't look so fun. And gonna be 3-betting on the right. Are we actually? The thing is, the open raise is so small that we're a bit deeper, and the SPR is gonna be massive out of position. Given that I can't I can't raise that much when he min raises. No leading range here. Do I want to check raise bear top 2? Probably not. Maybe if we had the backdoor nut flush draw. Goes with a pop bet. Obviously not folding. Don't think there's much value in raising without a straight blocker. Pretty nice river. Could be a sick cooler. Do we want to have leads here? I think not. Snap check. And on the left, with only one over to the 9 and no real draws out there, I'm just going to check this one back. And on the more dynamic turn, I think we can start betting. A lot of these hands on the right are not G2 opens, but given that we have a couple of players that are very tight, often makes sense. Given that it is a jack that's paired, I think I'm going to check here and debate check folding, not to this size, obviously. Pretty wide. I mean, this is very loose, but it's pretty wide. Steal percentage. And small bet. No blockers against value are really ways to bluff. So just gonna be folding. And then rainbow board, 5-9, obviously. Only kind of like one wrap out there. I think we do want to go ahead and bet range. Do get called. And the question is, can we check call this turn? Is he gonna bet with a hand like 6, 7, 8? Block kings. I think we go check and then bluff rivers. Obviously not on this card. He snap checks back, so either has 9-10 or a draw. So basically a very polar range, so no reason to bet into him. Because all he does is folds his bluffs and raises his value. And we win against kings. Wouldn't mind to see a bet from him there on the turn. He can obviously fold out some weak asses. Oh my god. No! Whatever. It wouldn't have made a difference reopening the action that much anyway. I mean, obviously all in. just the boat. But at least we win the side. Like, yeah. On a side note, if you're playing on these on GG regularly, those are types of hands that you do want to mark down and tag opponents. I'm gonna call here against this particular player. Deep. And Mr. Bang leading. It's not a good hand to check call, really. I mean, against half pot though, with a ton of backdoors, why not? It's not one of them. And I was basically gonna bluff nearly any river on a check back. Like, cause it's likely this guy has like Queen X at this point. Question is, does he have like King Queen? We obviously block it. He checks back. Maybe we win. And we do. So obviously a weak draw on the right, but in terms of our blockers of hands we're gonna get to fold, the 4 isn't that relevant. So we don't really want to build a pot with weak draws, especially since we have the opportunity to check back. Do block one straight, but we want to use a small sizing here, repping no straights, some 2 pairs. Probably not 2 pairs, probably sets. The dream. Ace, ace, king versus ace, king, king on the left. And I advise, if you are playing these pools, like, this obviously is a hand that we're never playing, but there is a small chance that the small blind limps, and also it'll get you out of the habit of just auto-folding marginal hands, because your call frequency versus the small blind versus anyone else obviously jumps up drastically. So like a hand like this, if I was in the big blind, like, I'm gonna call it versus the small blind, but not against any other position. So you don't want to be in that habit of like snap folding, because you'll end up making some bad decisions. We do block his limp raising range, and playing pots in position against this guy will be very profitable. This is probably a little bit of a stretch, but I think at a PLO 100 we can manage it. We do want to have some, well, obviously around 50% stabs here in position. Depending whether this is too strong or not. Probably not, but I mean, we just can never really check call on turns like this. Really, we're looking at like clubs, and even like straighting cards are going to be over cards for us, so I think we want to just check back again. It's like very weak, but And on the left, I think we have some good runouts to bluff and hands that we get jammed on the flop, so I don't necessarily think it's a good hand to bet yet. Value owned. And facing a pot size bet on the turn, I'm just gonna fold. It's probably a little wide to 3-bet. I don't know if it's a fold though. I mean, this guy's basically playing shove or fold, so I should probably open pretty much every button against players like this. Ship it. I'm actually gonna open this, given that, yeah, this guy's shoving a lot, but I mean, he's not shoving a lot is what I mean. He's basically playing pretty premium hands. Here against the small blinds, it's pretty rough if we don't block a queen. Pretty decent turn. Still dead against queens, and don't love the lead out. It is a small size. I mean, do have value against flushes. The ace of clubs, if he bets, is not great. It skews his range more to like deuces and boats, because obviously he's not going to bet too many non-nut flushes on the turn on a paired board, so do we even want to bet? I guess we just bet fold. Mean, pretty good price to flop a jack. I just don't see what hands people can really stab with too much. And so straight draws and overpairs are obviously pretty likely. We don't block either one. And yeah, not a fun run out. We block one of the straights. Probably should just continue on the turn. Thing is, it's just really gross when we get jammed on with our particular hand. But again, that probably doesn't happen very often, and that's just playing a little scared, I guess, because we're not, like, what are we achieving that's better by check raising? Turn the... not the nuts. But with the open-ended straight flush draw, we are going to bet here. Given that we can call a raise relatively comfortably. And when we call, we can obviously bluff pairing runouts. And I'm gonna actually lead this 2-pair on the right against big blind calling range. Not what we wanted to see. And tempted just to fold this, to be honest, but we do have backdoor straight and flush draws. But with our hand, he's gonna have probably quite a few wraps, to be honest. So not the card we were looking for on the turn. And on the left, I mean, it's basically a range bet situation. We just happen to have a very bad hand to do it with. And I think we probably check. And if it goes check, check, we bluff. We bluff non-clubs. That, I guess, would be my line here. I don't think he's going to bet much else than a straight here. Yeah. Pretty spicy flop on the left. Obviously just folding the bear open ender on the right. And snap fold. And I think in general, probably just going to call this hand, but especially against someone that's quite tight. And obviously calling the 3-bet on the left. Not the flop we were looking for. And continuing on the right with the nizzles. I think I'm blocking all the pairs here. I do actually want to have a leading range on this turn. For a smaller sizing though. Of course, Tiago, you're welcome, man. Appreciate you being active in the chat. Always makes streaming more fun. And on the left, I think we just fold, not enough backup. Had one backdoor flush draw, would consider it. Guessing he hasn't played many hands, but doesn't look promising to get to play on the button though. Fortunately, this guy's really shallow, otherwise definitely continue here. Debating 3-betting, but are these stacked ups? I'd rather keep the SPR high in position. Snap bet, half pot. I think we're gonna float and bet turns. Not any double barrels. And that's purely just like a timing population tendency float there, obviously. Nothing to do with my hand, which is absolutely trash on that board. And on a lot of ace-high flush boards, we will be able to bet out of position. But given that there is the straight as well, I think we can actually bet here though, just because it's unlikely that we get raised. And so straights will call, which we have equity against, and we can obviously just check fold rivers. But we unblock lower sets that will continue too. On these types of boards, I mean, if you look from a solver perspective, like you really have very, very little betting in the cutoff position. And yeah, I think with no equity against value, I think easy fold. So I will just 3-bet and get this in against this guy. Pretty nice flop. On an inside board though, I'm going to have a much more capped range because he can have some limp raises if that's what he's going to play, but I'm never going to just flat with the aces. And unfortunately, do get jammed on. And we river the nuts on the right. I mean, we block showdown value, but we also I think we're gonna check here. And he does check back with a hand that basically has no chance of winning. So I think we made the right play. And we have the nut flush draw. Obviously it makes him more likely to bluff catch. But we block a lot of the bluff catches when we have 2 pair there and the straight. So it makes it less likely that he has a straight blocker. This is like very, very loose. And this guy, I mean, he obviously had aces the last hand, but people might start punishing me for ISOing this guy so wide. And I mean, we can't fold. So we get ourselves into a little bit of trouble. And I mean, I guess we have to call now. ABB. So we kind of owned ourselves on the left. Turn a set with the straight blocker and gut shot and flush draw. Definitely gonna bet. Oh wow. Oh wow, that has got to be very tilting. Oh, he cashed out though. Oh, that is the best case scenario. We keep him at the table and somehow win the pot. Wow. Here. She's just gonna bet pot for value. So we get rewarded and hopefully dub the fish at the table on the left. It's a pretty massive punt and we get rewarded. Probably should have dialed it back here with kind of these high V pips behind. Mean. I'm gonna fold just because this guy might just end up jamming. If I overcall, I mean, there's just so many chips in the middle and he has 4 EBB. And then we get into a spot where we're often crushed. With how tight this guy is behind and smaller raise, we are going to go for it. And a pretty good check raise candidate. We should probably even lead this hand, to be honest, given that we don't have a king, and prefer like king jack jack for the check raise, now that I think about it. And it's gonna check again. I mean, we're never getting king X to fold. And gonna check here and then check res. Get snapped on the right by 8-5 deuce. Okay. Again, not really going to lead much. If this is more of a board like 8 deuce deuce, then sure, I'll have a good leading range. With a couple blockers here, I mean, it depends if we want to go 3 streets, especially with this guy. Against the guy we're deeper with, I'm more happy kind of going for it. This guy's just like obviously never folding, like a jack, maybe not even a queen. So actually going to check raise here, unblocking diamonds, blocking the straight and the boards, make it tough on Jack X. And we can follow through on a ton more rivers, given that this guy is now not in the pot. And we do take it down. I mean, this guy is very active. I mean, he got very unlucky against me, obviously. But I really hope he just smashed this flop. And I mean, it's kind of a weird spot, right? With ace, like these very weak aces. Checking back like isn't honestly the worst, because we're gonna end up 4-way. So, and in a much bigger pot, our position with a hand that unless we flop an ace, we're pretty screwed. Whereas at this point, I'm definitely calling this bet. Not ideal that we have the king of hearts in terms of his bluffs, but and I'm just gonna fold the turn. He says no to the run it twice, and he cashes out on the turn. I mean, we flop pretty well on the right. Question is, do we have leads? Probably not out of position on such a dynamic board, even though we have, you know, some strong hands. He's probably banging most nut flush draws on the flop. So given that we have a king, you know, we can have some 2 pairs, but we're doing fine against 2 pairs that don't have a king. And yeah, just want to deny equity to like dry aces on that board. Not really gonna have any leads here. On an SI dry board, I definitely will. Question is, do we want to raise? Without the pair and no backdoors, I don't think so. Ton of playability. And I'm probably going to be more likely to lead my strats with the backup here. Even though we block more. Just because I have playability on rivers. Pretty much any river is going to be tough. On this board, you do see the pot size bet, and oh, nearly folded. Obviously, yeah, it's a pretty rough river. Given that we block a heart and don't have a diamond. And yeah, I think I don't see people triple off too much here. And if he has no hearts and he has a diamond, which my hand makes it likely that it does, he could be bluffing, but I actually don't love this with the queens. We block a ton of the hands that he may have been continuing with on the flop, like pair and gut shots, but we do take it down. I mean, there's not much like 4-5, right? Oh, there shouldn't be too much in his range, so not worried about that. But is, you know, ace king with a gut shot gonna fold? Probably not. So we get a little bit owned on the right, and you know, a lot of people kind of think, oh well, you know, you didn't protection jam the turn. But that's kind of like the problem, right? Is that if you there's a lot of money in the middle. Problem is this guy's super deep and has us covered. I mean, our hand just plays so bad, like four-way though. Not really sure what we should be doing with that. Like on this type of flop, like what are we doing here with an SPR of 2? Probably should just be a jam. Is cash out ever good? Honestly, I've done it, like for very specific reasons though, right? So, like for example, kings against something. So I have done the cash out, you know, when I don't have like a bankroll on GG, for example, and I'm playing high stakes, like then it can be okay to avoid like some variance if you just want to kind of like take down a pot. But in the long run, you're going to cost yourself a ton of equity, a ton of EV, just because you're paying like 1% of the pot away or something like that. I think that's what it is, if it's still that on GG, which is like a good portion. I mean, we have ace high. We have ace high. I'm gonna bet small here. We can get called by obviously like pair and gut shot that we do well against. We can get raised against hands that we don't do well against and can just fold. Like, it's not that different here. I mean, if he has 10-10, I mean, we still have to hit because we can't call a bet on the river. Okay. The quaddies on the left. We do unblock queens. I mean, he's not going to call if a flush completes anyway on the river. So just looking to get called by queens. It's pretty much the only hand. Unless he did have a flush draw and doesn't understand that any pocket pair is a boat, but... I mean, you basically can't fold any hand when you get min-raised in the big blind. And our range is obviously quite weak here, but just too little equity. Even against any bluffs, we're struggling. And picking up some equity on the turn. Against sets, I am going to check back. Given that people overfold so much on the flop and monoboards, they end up with much stronger ranges. So, although we do unblock pairs from the flop, yes, he could have some sets, but he can also have like a straight, which is unlikely to fold at this point if he has a flush card in his hand, and probably not folding that, to be honest. If I had ace queen here, I'd be tempted to 4-bet. Probably a little loose without a suit. Whoa. Still getting used to this green screen action that I keep messing up. But it's definitely better. It's definitely better. So I hope that's tilting people less. Fix it down with the 8s. We likely want to bet here on the smaller side. because of the board texture, but also because of this guy's stack size. So you'll have a ton more check raises. With the queen blocker and backdoor flush draw and nut gut shot, we're obviously not folding. And I'm just gonna call, and I mean, probably stacking off on this turn. On a diamond, obviously, would be folding. And does have the newts. And we're probably going to have the most leads on this board, to be honest. So with a backdoor flush draw and some straight blockers, I think I am going to go for it here. Obviously, we have some ugly turns. And unblocking diamonds, I'm guessing we very often get raised by sets. I think probably just potting and stacking off here. Unfortunate if we run into the straight, obviously, with our particular hand. But we can fold out hands with a ton of equity, like pair and flush draw. You know, even some wraps, maybe. Without a diamond and some equity, let me checking back here. There's like not that many turns that we get to use. Some of the blockers we have in our hand. It's a decent turn. I mean, definitely gonna call here. Yep. Like, what kind of hands can he have that can call? I mean, we do block the jack and unblock diamonds. I think it's going to be tough to get a call. I'm going to use the smaller sizing here, given that we have a pair blocker. I do get looked up by two pair, which is nice. I mean, this guy just seems to be c-betting pretty hard. I mean, this is a very gross hand, but small bet size in position. And you could honestly squeeze here, but this guy's too short to get him to fold anything. So we're just gonna call and just flop the dream. I'm gonna actually bet on the left. Just deny some equity. Checks to us as the caller. I'm gonna just bet small. We'll get some better flush draws to jam. And on this river, just going to fold 98%. It's pretty good. Sorry, 97%. He does turn two pair though. but we hold. We ship a nice pot on the right. On the left was probably a bit of a loose call on the flop. You could argue to just check back the turn. But like bet to go for the pot size bet to get him to fold some of his like overpair plus gut shot type hands. This guy is very passive, but we don't really have any equity to realize. Oh. Just go for the cheap bluff and then shut down if called, because he will have all of the strong hands. So probably going to be one of the last hands here on the left before we wrap up for the day. Quick stream today. Not the flop we were looking for. From a GTO perspective, no leads on this board. And again, we have like just a very marginal hand. Gets a lot stronger on the turn, but I still think that we want to check call without any blockers, and not going to value bet. Nothing to really get called by on the left, and just going to go for the call here and get the ultimate brick. Interesting. Well, that's going to be it for today. We'll be back later this week with some more streaming, and I'll maybe be sat down for the next session because my feet hurt standing up. So yeah, we'll be able to go a bit longer probably, but appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Check out PLOpokercoaching.com. We do have a bunch of stuff going on over there, and you can get a free 30-minute coaching session. Other than that, thank you for tuning in, and good luck.